Okay, this is the Ortus Developers Week. This is our third day, our second session of the day. Today we will have John Farrar, who is going to talk about Postman path to ColdBox APIs. So it's going to be so interesting. Please follow us on Facebook at Ortus Solution and use the hashtag ODW2017. What is ODW? It's a free week online conference led by the Ortus team and some community members. All sessions will be recorded, so if you cannot make it to any of them, don't worry. There is always a chance to enjoy the sessions at ortusolutions.com/ODW, as well as the slides and all the materials that we will be using. Why ODW? Because we love training and we love education, and this is a week that is designed for developers. So take advantage of this, which is free, and we want to expose our new products, our partners, new projects, and everything which is going on with Ortus Solutions and the development. We want also to get the community involved and that they adopt to new technologies. Ortus Solutions, we are a professional open source. We offer training, support, and mentoring plans, architecture, web development, and there is always time for entertainment too. That's why mariachi singing is included. Sometimes we have salsa classes with Mr. Bradwood, the salsa king. If you guys can help us, it's always welcome. You can become an Ortus patron, and we can keep our documentations and all the downloads alive as little as $10 a month. This is the schedule. As I said before, this is day number 3, session number 2. You can check the schedule for the rest sessions. And 2 announcements. Next week, we will be in Las Vegas. We will be at Mirage. We will have a really nice suite for all of us. So we still have a couple seats. So it's not late to get your tickets, so please go to that download to that link and you can get a discount code as well using ODW2017. And next year, in April 25th to the 27th, we will be here in Houston, Texas for the yearly Into the Box conference. So if you want to be part of this great event, don't hesitate to visit our website, intothebox.org, and get the tickets. Okay, John, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and you can start with your session.
Okay, I don't see that you've swapped over to me yet.
Do you see the option to share your screen? Here we go.
There we go. Okay, and I'm looking for the chat. Is my screen being shared?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There we go. I see it on the top on the screen. New tool. Okay. First thing I want to do is open up a chat window because I want to know where everyone's coming from that's involved here. So How many of you guys have used Postman before or are still using it? Give me a hint on that if you would. And how many of you guys are falling asleep because you just had a big lunch? Let's see. Well, I'm not saying that a lot of you guys have used Postman before. There used to be two options for Postman. There was a Chrome plugin, and then there's a desktop app. They are doing away with the Chrome plugin, and their app is good enough that I am perfectly fine with that. So they're doing a very good job on their application. It looks like Misha's still using it. Okay. Postman is available for Mac, Windows, and Linux, which is nice because it's a tool that can pretty much be used anywhere we're doing our development. And not only that, one of the things I like about it is everything I'm going to be showing you is free. I will try to remember to tell you what features they have that are their paid features, but there's things like if you want to do Postman and do a team so you can create Postman, this stuff will be showing you and share it across your team. Well, when you do that, you'll need to have a paid version. But other than that, you can do a whole lot of things just like that. I will be showing you. So let me get over here to it. And there we go. Okay, how many of you guys are used to doing mocking? Well, we'll be talking about that today, and we'll be talking about doing tests. I'm sure everybody here has at least heard a few people who do unit testing and end-to-end testing and so forth. Well, I want to be showing you that also. And if you want, you can use Postman for creating a documentation to your API. And you can also use Postman to monitor your API. It's actually a very versatile and flexible tool. So let's first just go ahead and look at generically what Postman is. Postman thinks in the concept of request, and they call these requests endpoints because we're talking about RESTful APIs. So let's say you're going to just call Google, okay? Well, even though that's not an API per se, if we send out the request, we get a response back, and you can come down here. This is where you put your response type in, and just like with all RESTful things, this has about every type of RESTful verb that you could want. And I'm sure a lot of you will stop and look at that and say, hey, what in the world is that verb? And pretty much I've never used these all. But you can see over here that what we got back in our body when we click preview, well, this is the Google web page. So that's pretty cool. But if we're going to go and start building APIs, we would actually want to actually hit a particular page. Well, when you do that, sometimes you're going to want authorization. And as you can see here, Postman handles all kinds of authorization. So if you need to test with authorization intact, you can do that. Another thing you can do is send headers. These are your HTML style headers that you send with your page. Well, you can take those, put those, there we go. And of course, this will run a little bit slow just because it's doing a screen share with it. So I'm not going to, but you can see that you could put the values in, turn them on and off for a request if you wanted. You can delete them. You have presets. You can set it to no cache if you want. So these are all really good features. Okay. And I will show you later how we use the pre-request. Well, I may not show you the pre-requests, but you can run scripts before your endpoint is called from Postman here, or you can take the result and run code to test against it. Now down here, you can see these are the header results that came back. And when you create a test in the upper section here, this will be the results from this test. So let's just do a typical one here, just to show, because I have some here just to help us out. And okay, so let's see. Say we're going to look for the word driver, which it should probably return false. And you see, we get an error here. But if we look for the word drive, so what that shows you is Postman can be used not only to test your RESTful API, but you can also use Postman to test your regular pages to make sure content's there. So if you want to use this, set it up as just a regular service that's pinging. You get so many requests a month, and you can set the interval. I'm not going to cover how to do that particular piece, but you can create a new request, which is what I'm doing right now, a new collection, or a new environment. So now that I've showed you basically what a request is and a simple example of a test, see if we created a new request, we could create, we'll call it sample, and we don't need to put in a description. And we could even create a new collection. Remember I talked about having collections? This is we'll call this the box collection just for the sake of our show. Okay, and we'll save it to the box folder. And as you see, here's our one sample request. So that's how we create a request. And these folders, not only can you create folders, but a new thing they've added this year is so you can create a nested folder, and if you want, you can nest them multiple levels. And you can also drag these so that they're in different levels. So you can rename them, edit, add folders, duplicate, delete. It's pretty full-featured. So if you're looking to set up an API, that's good. Well, aside from that, one of the things that really excited me about Postman at first is it's just nice to have something where I could go to this stuff, build it, put it together, especially since we're using it on a team company I'm working with right now. It's just nice to be able to share these as a team. But one of the neater things is this concept of mocking, okay? Well, if you look up here, we have 5 examples. And I've named each of these by the type of request that they're making. So when I send this, I get back a result. We see it's 200, and this was our GET request, which is our default. Well, if I go to this default, you can see here it's a GET request, and this API here, you need the endpoint API in your sample to match what you want to come up. And Postman lets you mock different types of requests. So there's the default GET request. I moved to the post request. Remember I told you there were 5 of these? And with a post request, we're getting back new records stored. 201 created for the status code. For patch, we'd say updated to Bob, and the reason we say that is because we actually sent Bob there. Now we should probably be sending it here, but I just wanted to show you. This is probably not where you should be sending it. You should be sending it here. But when I set this up, it looks like I set that up wrong, but it's a mock request. So you can see, of course, a mock request. It's a little easier to do them off key. But so here's your params when you want to do params. And you can set all those values in there. You can also do a bulk edit if you want to do a bunch of them at a time. So, and for those of you who are getting used to sending raw JSON, it'll also support that. You can send binary and you can have it upload a PDF or something like that. So you can choose a file for it to send. You do good old-fashioned web forms. It will do about any type you want. It's fairly easy to use. So we're going to go back here and we'll show, okay, see when we did our get, remember get request single result. So now we'll do a post. And you see it did the 201 back and new record because that's what we have over here in our examples that we were created for mocking. We'll do a put. I didn't set a result for put. We'll do a patch. That's that updated to Bob you saw. And if we did a delete request, and as I jokingly put, this is related to where we work. Record reported is removed, but archived in most cases because we work at one of those companies that rarely removes any data. So you can see all of the different options here. And the way this works is up here we have what we call environment. This is the actual ColdBox server, but this mock hat rack, you come over here and you can see this is different variables and things it has set. So I'm going to go in here to edit, and you can see here, you can create environment variables that you can use. And what's nice about that is say this is the URL for our mock server on the Postman service. And again, these are all free, everything that I'm showing you here. I've talked about Team, but I haven't showed that. All the stuff I'm showing you is free, which is really awesome. And this URL, you see I'm putting the URL up here, and all of these are just using that same URL. So I don't have to type it over and over and over. And not only do I not have to type it over and over, but if I come over here and I swap environments, see I have the same variables, but I have a different URL. So if I come over here and I swap environment, then that would then send the same request over to the other environment. And I don't know how you guys are doing testing, but you could set up your basic API. You could let the front end guys have that URL because that will actually work. And I will show you that. Got a hat rack here, and we'll send this request. Okay, so we see here response reported. So what we do, I'm going to copy this, and we'll paste that in here. Whoop, no it didn't. Is this, are we having a classic demo thing? Probably. No record. Oh, I know why, because have to watch my authentication. But it can set up. I'm going to, after this prezo, I'm going to put together a whole course on Postman. And basically, I'm going to give my email out. I can give that out right now in the message. Anybody who would like to get a copy of this course, I'm going to share it for free to the community that's watching the sessions this week. So that's my email. If you just say Postman course in there, I will add you to the list and let you know when the course is available. And I will be covering everything from tests to more detail about doing mocking to using it deeper with ColdBox. So, because I'm well aware that in 1 hour here, we're not going to have a chance to get into everything really deep. And because it's a demo, I'm also aware that not everything's going to work perfect. So let's see. Now that we've seen this, let's go ahead and swap this over. And what I want to do is create a user login. Okay, we're going to actually hit my server. And so we click send. Aha. Just a second. So we don't have this another set in there yet. So what do? Oops, not PowerShell. I'm wanting this tool. So, and I wanted to show you guys how I'm doing something here also. In module config, our routes, I create the routes and then I include this route underscore CFM. And this is the routes underscore CFM. What I do is I create first routes, and these are de facto routes that we would use. I create last route. Then I include any additional routes. And so for our into the box thing, we'll go ahead and create one of those. As you see, it's not underlined yet because it doesn't exist. So we come over here in the routes folder, create a new file, box, and you put the routes in here. Yeah. Anyone notice that I almost did that wrong? So we will need this. And let's see, let me just look at my catcher example. I'll just copy that, that would be simpler. So this would be a route for box. And what was that route we were just testing? It was another. We'll create a handler. And just for clarity, now, of course, when you're using ColdBox, anytime you create new routes, you have to do a reinit. So I'll do that right inside here. Okay. Whoop, before we do that, we are going to need to create Okay, so here's our box CSC. And I'm not using the mock data at the moment, but okay. So where did we target that? We targeted it at another. And all we're going to do initially here now, since we have both of these, we can do now we should have that available over here in Postman. So we send that again. Okay, where is that handler service? Well, again, this is what happens in demos. So okay, that's coming up. If API is working, API is working. And another, and that's why it's not working over here. Ta-da! How come nobody told me what was wrong there? So you see, we're able to call that from over here. And now I'm going to jump over here. Is this the one? Yes. Okay, I'm going to grab this one. And where's my another? Don't need that one. Okay. Here it is. Put that one right up front so we don't lose it here. So we got another. So what we do is we put test over here. See, we're returning status of 200. So we send this again, and what this does is it checks to see that the status code is actually 200. If we had checked for a redirect, say you'd put a redirect in there, you see here, we got 200, but we were expecting 300 according to this test. So what you can do is you can actually start setting up meaningful tests. And actually test your API, because this is no longer hitting the mock. This is actually hitting our API in ColdBox. Okay. Now here, we'll get one correct and one wrong. And you see that's what how it does this. Now you can run these tests individually like this, or when you have these tests packaged like this, you could also come over here and see here, this will run your entire suite of tests. So you could run them, or you could click into a subfolder and run that. So it'll run all these tests and collect as a collection, which is another nice feature. Now, sometimes when you're running a test like this, it's sort of frustrating because you're just not getting the information you want back. So Postman, of course, also has a console. So we come over let me see, I'll pull that off screen for just a moment. Go ahead and run this test. And you see this is a delete request. We can look at it pretty raw, but here's the endpoint that was requested. Here's the status, the time. You can see the request body, the response body. So all that information is here, and that makes for a nice functional console. This really comes in handy. If you get stuck and you're trying to get all that information and see what's going back and forth, this is nice. Tells you what the host actually was, cookies. I mean, don't know what else you'd want, but it doesn't quite write your code yet. You may want that, but it doesn't do it. Okay, and I'm going to grab these. So we'll run this. You see we have 2 passing, 1 not passing. And before I get into how to correct that one, see this Postman inside your Postman app, the PM thing doesn't work in the Chrome one because they didn't add that when they were upgrading. You're expecting your Postman response to not be error, and it actually checks for that. And to have a JSON body. Let's look at the body. Well, just quote, that probably shouldn't be passing, but I don't know what the rules are for JSON. So that type of thing, stuff you'll have to watch. I like looking for more information. So generally, I avoid doing any type of tests that are ambiguous. I also try to avoid doing any type of tests that are redundant. In other words, if you have a unit test already testing for that, this is more of an integration style test. Don't test that here. Only thing you should be testing for here is, did I get my basic response back? Is it 200? Or if you're sending a variable to the server. So let's change this to a get, and we're doing another. And let's see. So we'll go with our params here. As you see right now, we're just handling everything with that. So we could do our params, and we'll do fish and bass. So same thing, no different results. But if we come over here into our code, we should be able to say another and we'll see if this works. So we see, so we come over here, we change our type, bass, trout. So we can see that we're actually interacting with our API right from Postman. So again, right here, say we have a value, and I want to get you just a little deeper into the environment. So what we're going to do here is going to create fish, and we'll call this, have some fun. So as you see, it'll help if I put this in the right place. I don't know if someone caught that. I did put that in the wrong place, because fish, shark. There we go. So at the moment, if we send this, we're still getting trout. But now, you can put these variables just about anywhere. And you see, it even gives you a hint. It's smart enough to know what's available. So now we have another shark. Now, let's say we wanted to, just for the sake of fun, we wanted to manage our environment. And this mockingbird, we're going to go ahead and copy this. And let's see, what shall we catch this time? So like I say, we're doing that one. We send it, we get shark. We swap the environment, we get an old boot. This is the type of stuff you can do when you're in. What type of a mix makes sense for what type of a project and team you have, I can't say that for you. But it is really cool to be able to use these variables. And that variable, well, I want to show you something. So what we're going to do here, pre-script, what we're going to try to do, set, is it set environment var variable? Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is set fish. Okay. Does anybody have to give me a fish? Someone out there. Someone must like some kind of fish. What's your favorite fish? We'll go with sea bass. That was the first response. So we click send and sea bass. So it actually set that. And if we go up in here into our environment, up into this copy, you can see you can actually program these things back and forth. So let's swap back to the other and set salmon. And we have that. So with our managed environments here we have salmon, here we have sea bass. Now I want you to pay attention to this, because remember I said you can set these tests and run them all in a series? Well, you can actually do your request, post, get information back, set the variable during one test up in your globals or in your environment. And then what you do is you pull that back and you use that variable in another request that's happening in sequence. And by doing that, you can tie your tests together and perform some really nice suites of tests. Now, with that, I think that's, I'm not trying to deeply show the API stuff, because if someone has questions there, I'd be glad to do it. But does anyone have any general questions now about either the API side or about how I was doing my routes or about Postman, of course? I want to go ahead and start fielding some questions. Okay, anybody out there? I'm assuming you guys see me here. I hope the screen didn't just go blank. No, it did, didn't it? I disappeared. Okay, you do see me. Good. Well, I hope it's good. Opinions are welcome. Questions? Anybody have any Postman questions? Again, use that address I put in the chat, just John Farrar at sosapps.com. If you want to get a copy of the course, I'll be glad to share that with anyone who sends me a registration this week. I'll get you a free pass to that course. No questions at all. We have a quiet crowd today. Or another possibility is I'm betting a bunch of people are at work and they're just planning to watch the recording, which is fine also. So let me see, let me swap back and just show you a few more aspects of Postman. So let me jump back to my screen share. Okay. As you see, it lists the request over here in the side. I wanted to see that also. So see, this is a post, put request, get request. So it has all that stuff built in there. And I'm also working on a thing that will do this. Let's see, there we go. See if this fish doesn't exist. Of course it doesn't. So I am working on a tool, which I don't have fully running right now, but I can tell you about what the tool is. I'm working on creating, and I'm calling this Mockingbird, a backend tool that will catch these requests. So what I can do is work in Postman, send these requests, and then create a whole API off it. So it will capture the REST URL. It will let me edit that URL so I can put it into a bread style. Well, if you're familiar with, most people here know what CRUD is: create, read, update, delete. Well, there's another acronym out there called BREAD, which means browse, read, edit, add, delete. And basically, it's just adding the browse feature, but it's going to have either one. But you create a basic API, and then it gives you a form for filling that out. And I'm not sure if this will work or not. Yes, there it is. So there's clear, and now we could do more. Yes. So I can go here to bread, and you see here's the segments, and it's a new work in progress. But say like I didn't want to include this, I can click it off, and then it'll only include the others. And if I wanted to put different handlers out there, I could stick that into a different handler. And you see it gives the basic, when you're doing an add, you usually don't have an ID on there. It knows to smartly add that on the end. It knows the delete needs it, and it knows the read needs it. But of course, the browse would not need it. Let me go ahead and click this one off instead. So we don't have read, but we have delete, add, browse, and edit. And if I click build code, there we go. And it says go ahead and add these two to the routes_CFC file. Then create a more CFC file, and it gives you the code for that here, the basic code. And here's your patterns for the browse, add, and delete. And here's the less file, because we told to save that to a different router. And here's the less handler. You would save those all, just do your ColdBox, reinit, and up it would come. And like I said, this is a really new project. I have that up on SourceForge, so let me give you a couple of links also in the chat window. Let's see, all I have to do is find the chat window again. Okay. There it is. Okay. First, the Postman link, in case someone doesn't have that yet. And a little Mockingbird project. I've got to write some tests and other things for it. Like I said, this is my proof of concept thing, because I think it'd be nice if it were just easy to really fast jump in there and mock that stuff also. So with that, again, let me open up for questions and we'll go from there. Oh, and I did, for those of you who aren't used to this yet, did want to show you this also. This is using that API that creates random data. So it's sort of prototype or mocked live data. And it even changes the number of data points if you tell it to. And all I'm doing for that, I'll just show you the code real quick. And I got this off the Forge box. There's lots of good libraries up there. Pete did a great job this week on his demo, and something he created that John was also sharing. That's what inspired me to include this. So I will show you just how I did that really quick. So I just took this mock thing and I told it to data mock. And what I did is I created a bunch of parameters. So I have a random. So I'm going to get between 1 and 7 with a username and an email in each, and it creates them on the fly. And then it takes and sticks them into this view. And all I'm doing is putting the person's name and their email there, because that is what was generated from that raw data. So if you're looking to even take your mocking data to an even higher level, it has all kinds of little pieces of data that it can create. It can be extended. It's a pretty cool little library. So thought I would give dibs out for that, and thank the Ortis team for the last thing I would like to say is, if you haven't considered it yet, you really ought to consider being a donor to the Ortis development. They have a Patreon group from that. You can find it off the website. And with that, I will hand the control back over to the Ortis team. And thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to share this with the community.